You know, I always wish to engage Christians in these conversations about the Bible, but they don't like it. Well, you know what? God disappears. Read Genesis and you'll notice when things are going bad, God's not around. When things go bad, God is absent. Why is God absent when things go bad after he set it up? My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. What am I talking about? First thing happens is this. Let's go look in Genesis. King James Bible here. What we're going to find is that God gets everything set up. The punishment happens. He kicks him out of the Garden of Eden. Cain and Abel happen. He comes down and talks to Cain. And after protecting Cain, Cain leaves the presence of the Lord right here. 16, verse 16 in chapter 4. That's it. God disappears right here. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. So it sounds like Cain left the presence of the Lord, but how's that going to happen? Where's the Lord? Isn't the Lord omniscient, omnipresent, everywhere? How do you leave the presence of the Lord if the Lord is everywhere? Okay, if you go through here, there's a lineage happening, years, hundreds, thousands. It depends on if you're trying to read this literally or not, go by, and there's no God whatsoever until chapter 6, after his sons have come down here, saw the daughters of men, the sons of daughters saw they were fair, and they took wives of all they choose. And there were giants in those days that came from the daughters of men. So what do we have right there is that, honestly, God gets everything set up, then just totally leaves. It's like planting a garden, getting it all set up and then going away for a year and then coming back and going, oh, it's bad. I have to tear it all up and start over again. God was not there to care for things. Why is that? You know what? It happens again. Let's take a look at chapter 12, right after God called Abram and Sarai. What happens? He abandons them. I know people don't like to read, so I'm just going to kind of tell you what's going on here. The Lord said to Abram, get out of your country. He gets everything started. He brings him into Canaan, puts him in the land of Canaan, but there is a famine there. He promises them everything. Unto your seed I will give all this land. And he removed thence to a mountain east of Bethel, having pitched his tent. That's Abram. And then Abram journeyed going on still toward the south. It does not say in here that God left, or that the presence is not there. However, God is not there. Watch what happens. Abram journeyed going on still toward the south, and there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt and lived there, for the famine was grievous in the land. Okay, so we're to presume at this point then that God put them in Canaan, get them there, this is your land, I promise you everything, but there's no food, there's nothing here, there's nothing growing, it's just a barren place. Why isn't God there to feed them, to make it full of food, to anything like that? Why does he put him in a famine? And it came to pass, when he was come near into Egypt, he said to Sarai his wife, behold, I know you're a fair woman to look upon. So what happens is that he's afraid. He thinks that the Egyptians are going to see her and say that this is his wife, and they're going to kill him. But they'll save her. So instead they lie. Both of them agree that they're going to say, she's my sister. And then when they go there, the Egyptians beheld the woman. She was pretty. And the princes of Pharaoh saw her, and they commended. They were like, hey, Pharaoh, hot woman out here. And it's just a man's sister. And so she was taken into Pharaoh's house. Where's God? Where the hell is God? And he entreated Abram well for his sake. So Pharaoh marries Sarai, while she is also Abram's wife, except that Pharaoh thinks it's a sister. They lied and told him that. He's so happy, though, he gives them what? Sheep, oxen, he-asses, men servants and maidservants, she-asses, and camels for his wife. And what happens in the end? And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. Where was God? Why did God put them where there's nothing? They have to go someplace until they, what kind of a story is that? The question is this. Like in the first Genesis story, where was God when things went bad? Here, where is God when things go bad? That's what I'd like to know. Actually, I do know. First of all, the story is not literal, it's metaphorical. So you have to treat it like a parable. So people that try to explain why it happened, that's just ridiculous. Okay, you can't describe why or explain why God disappears in this manner. But when does God reappear? In both stories, it's when it's time to call somebody. When Noah is called, God reappears. When God converts Abram to Abraham, when the calling happens, God reappears. When God reappears with Noah, it's time to destroy the earth. When God reappears with Abram to convert to Abraham, it's time to destroy Sodom. Do you see a repeating motif? What is that? Where does God go? What is God? I know what it is, but I'd be curious to hear your, questions, answers, explanations, anything, ideas, opinions. However, again, I'm not going to entertain the idea that it really truly happened physically and that somehow, faith or something like that is a part of it. These are metaphorical stories, okay? I would not entertain the idea that the tortoise and the hare race really happened and that there's a certain species of tortoise that blah, blah. It didn't happen. It's a story holding a lesson, same as in the Bible. I will not treat it as if it's true. I will treat it as if it's holding a lesson. See you in the next video.